The night Ava decided to leave, the city was the same night someone held her hand so gently that it made her forget why she wanted to run away. Rain poured across the empty street, blurring the yellow lights of the small cafe where she sat alone. Her suitcase rested beside her chair, packed with everything she thought she needed for a new life. A new city, a new job, a new beginning, far away from the memories that had been slowly breaking her heart. Ava stared at the rain through the window, whispering to herself that leaving was the only way to heal. For 3 years, she had loved someone who slowly drifted away from her. Promises had turned into silence, texts into excuses. Eventually, the relationship ended not with a dramatic goodbye, but with distance that grew wider each day. The city felt haunted by memories of laughter, late-night walks, and the belief that love could last forever. She had decided that the only solution was to start over somewhere else. The cafe door opened with a soft chime. A man stepped inside, shaking the rain from his jacket. His name was Noah, though Ava did not know that yet. He looked around the quiet cafe before noticing the only other person there. Her. For a moment he hesitated, then walked toward the counter to order coffee. As he waited, he glanced again at the girl sitting alone beside a suitcase, eyes full of storms even heavier than the rain outside. When the barista handed him his drink, he turned to leave, but something stopped him. Maybe it was the sadness in her expression. Maybe it was the way she kept staring at the door, as if she was trying to gather courage to walk out. Without fully understanding why, Noah approached her table. "Are you running away?" he asked gently, nodding toward the suitcase. Ava looked up, surprised by the sudden voice. She almost laughed at the strange question. "Maybe," she replied quietly. Noah sat down across from her without asking, not in an intrusive way, but like someone who simply felt the moment needed company. "Running away usually looks exactly like that," he said. "Rain, a suitcase, and someone trying very hard not to cry." Ava let out a small breath. "You sound like you've done it before." "I tried," Noah admitted. "But I realized something." "What?" "You can leave a city," he said softly, "but you can't leave your heart behind." The words landed deeper than Ava expected. For the next hour they talked. About simple things at first. Music, favorite places, childhood memories. Noah had a calm way of listening that made Ava feel safe in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. Eventually, she told him the truth about why she was leaving. And Noah listened without interrupting. When she finished, there was silence. Then he said something that changed everything. "Maybe the problem isn't that love hurt you," he said. "Maybe the problem is that the wrong person was holding your heart." Ava stared at him. "Love isn't supposed to make you feel invisible." Outside, the rain softened. The clock on the cafe wall showed midnight. Her bus would leave in 20 minutes. Noah stood and gently offered his hand. "Come outside," he said. Confused but curious, Ava followed him into the cool night air. The rain had almost stopped, leaving the streets shining like mirrors. They walked slowly along the sidewalk. Ava realized something strange. For the first time in months, she wasn't thinking about the past. She was simply walking beside someone who made the world feel lighter. At the end of the street, Noah stopped. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Okay." "Has anyone ever held you in a way that made you feel completely safe?" Ava thought about it, then slowly shook her head. Noah stepped closer. Not too close, just enough that she could see the sincerity in his eyes. "Sometimes," he said quietly, The right person doesn't appear in your life until the exact moment you're about to give up on love. Ava felt her chest tighten. The bus station lights glowed in the distance. Her old life waited there. But something else waited here. Then something unexpected happened. A strong wind blew down the street, and Ava shivered slightly. Without thinking, Noah reached out and gently wrapped his arm around her shoulders. It was such a simple gesture, but it felt different from anything she had experienced before. There was no pressure, no expectation, just warmth. And suddenly, Ava realized something powerful. It wasn't just the way he held her, it was the feeling behind it. The feeling that she mattered. Tears filled her eyes. "I think," she whispered, "I've been loved the wrong way for a long time." Noah looked at her kindly. "The right love," he said, "doesn't make you question yourself. It makes you feel stronger." The bus arrived. Its headlights cut through the darkness. The driver waited by the door. Ava looked at the suitcase, then at Noah, then back at the bus. For a moment, her heart felt split between two futures. Finally, she took a deep breath and walked away from the bus. Not toward the station, toward the city, toward the life she almost abandoned, toward the person standing quietly beside her. Months passed. Ava didn't leave the city after all. Instead, she began rebuilding her life piece by piece. She found a new job at a small art studio. She started painting again, something she had stopped doing when her old relationship drained her creativity. And Noah stayed. Not as a hero, not as someone trying to fix her, but as someone who simply walked beside her. They faced challenges together. There were moments when Ava's past fears returned, nights when she worried that love might disappear again. But Noah never tried to silence those fears. Instead, he listened, held her hand, reminded her through actions that love could be gentle, patient, and real. And slowly, Ava began to believe again. One evening, months later, they stood on a hill overlooking the glowing city lights. Ava leaned against Noah as the cool wind moved through the quiet night. "You know something strange," she said. "What?" "The night we met, I thought my life was ending." Noah smiled. "And now?" Ava looked at him, her eyes filled with calm happiness. "Now I think it was just beginning." Noah wrapped his arms around her, holding her close in that same warm way he had the first night. Ava rested her head against his chest. And in that moment, she understood something that changed her forever. Love isn't about dramatic promises. It isn't about perfect people. Sometimes love is simply the quiet comfort of someone holding you when the world feels heavy. The right love doesn't trap you. It frees you. And as the city lights shimmered below them, Ava realized that the most powerful feeling in the world was not being chased, not being adored from afar. It was something much simpler, being held by someone who truly cared. And for the first time in her life, her heart finally felt at home. Because sometimes the greatest love story begins at the exact moment you almost give up on love. And sometimes all it takes to change a life is the way someone holds you. The night Ava realized she truly loved Noah was the night she almost lost him. Months had passed since the rainy evening when their lives first crossed paths outside the quiet café. What began as a strange conversation between two strangers had slowly grown into something deeper, something neither of them had expected. Life had become calmer for Ava. The heavy sadness that once followed her everywhere had started to fade. She woke up with purpose again, painting every morning in the small art studio where sunlight poured through tall windows. Colors returned to her world, both on the canvas and inside her heart. And Noah was always there. Not in an overwhelming way, not in a way that made her feel trapped. He simply existed beside her life like a quiet strength she could always lean on. He would bring her coffee during late nights at the studio. He would listen to her ideas, even when they sounded messy and unfinished. Sometimes they would walk through the city for hours, talking about dreams, fears, and the strange ways life surprises people. But love, real love, always carries challenges. Even the kindest hearts carry hidden scars. One evening, Ava noticed something different about Noah. He had been quieter than usual for days. His smile still appeared, but it didn't reach his eyes the same way. When she asked if everything was okay, he would simply say he was tired. At first, she believed him, but the feeling that something was wrong refused to disappear. One night, they sat together on the balcony of Noah's small apartment. The city lights shimmered in the distance, and the cool wind moved softly through the quiet street below. Ava watched him carefully. "You've been somewhere else lately," she finally said. Noah looked at her. "I'm right here." "No," she said gently. "You're not." Silence settled between them. For the first time since they met, Noah seemed unsure of what to say. Ava felt a familiar fear rising in her chest. It was the same fear that had lived inside her during her last relationship. The fear of being slowly pushed away. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked quietly. Noah immediately shook his head. "Never." "Then what is it?" He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, staring at the city lights. "There are things about my past," he said slowly, "that I never told you." Ava waited. "I wasn't always the calm person you met that night." He paused. 2 years ago, my life fell apart. Noah explained that he once owned a small music production company with his best friend. They worked together for years, dreaming of building something meaningful. But the partnership ended badly. His friend betrayed him, taking most of the money and leaving Noah with debts that took months to recover from. The worst part wasn't the money. It was the loss of trust. Since then, Noah had built emotional walls around himself. He promised he would never allow someone to get close enough to hurt him again. Until Ava. "You changed that," he said softly. "But that's also what scares me." Ava felt her chest tighten. "Because now you can lose me?" Noah nodded slightly. "I know what it feels like when someone you trust disappears." The words carried a quiet pain Ava had never heard from him before. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Ava moved closer and gently held his hand. "Noah," she whispered, "I'm not your past." He looked at her. "And you're not mine either." Her voice trembled slightly. "You helped me believe in love again. Do you really think I would just walk away from that?" Noah's expression softened, but the fear was still there. Sometimes emotional wounds take longer to heal than people expect. Weeks passed, and although things seemed normal on the surface, Ava felt the distance slowly returning. Noah still cared for her deeply, but he had started protecting his heart again. Small walls were quietly rebuilding between them, and Ava could feel it. One afternoon, she received unexpected news. A famous art gallery in another city had seen her paintings online and wanted to offer her a 6-month exhibition opportunity. It was the kind of chance artists dream about, but it required moving away temporarily. When Ava told Noah, The silence that followed felt heavier than anything they had experienced before. "You should go," Noah said after a long pause. His voice was calm. Too calm. Ava studied his face. "You're not even going to ask me to stay?" Noah forced a small smile. "I would never ask you to give up your dream." "But what about us?" Noah didn't answer immediately. And in that moment, Ava realized the truth. He wasn't pushing her away because he didn't love her. He was doing it because he was afraid of loving her too much. That night, Ava walked alone through the same street where they first met. The memories felt almost unreal. She had come here once, ready to leave everything behind. And now she stood there again, facing another life-changing decision. Later that evening, she knocked on Noah's door. When he opened it, she looked straight into his eyes. "I need to know something," she said. "What?" "Do you love me?" The question filled the quiet room. Noah stepped closer. "I love you more than I ever expected to love anyone." "Then why are you acting like losing me is already inevitable?" Noah looked down. "Because sometimes people leave." Ava gently lifted his chin so he would look at her again. "Yes," she said softly. "Sometimes they do. But sometimes they stay." She placed his hand over her heart. "And sometimes they choose each other again and again, even when it's scary." Tears filled Noah's eyes for the first time since they met. "I'm scared, Ava." "I know." She stepped closer and wrapped her arms around him. Just like the first night he held her in the rain. But this time, the roles were reversed. "You taught me something," she whispered. "What?" "That the right love doesn't make you feel alone." Noah slowly held her tighter. "And I'm not going anywhere," she said. The exhibition would still happen. Ava would still chase her dream. But this time, she wouldn't run away from love while doing it. And Noah wouldn't let fear control his heart again. Because real love isn't about avoiding pain. It's about trusting someone enough to face the unknown together. That night, as they stood together by the window, holding each other quietly, Noah finally understood something he had been afraid to admit. The way he held Ava had changed her life. But the way she believed in him was changing his. And their story was far from over.